So, one of the most important textbooks, which is followed as a standard textbook by all practitioners of yoga, yoga sadhana, is the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, in fact, in the Indian system of thought, in the Hindu system of thought, all the ways of looking at the divine, or all the ways of looking at the reality, well, the word divine and real are interchangeable. Because if what you seek is the real, therefore the rest is not so real. And therefore real and divine are interchangeable. Now, there are many darśanas in Indian philosophy, of which Yoga darśana is also one. There is, of course, the ancient darśana called the Sāṅkhya of Kapila. These are all different approaches of finding the truth. And there is the Vedantic approach, and there is the Nyaya philosophy, there is the Mimamsa philosophy, which deals with nature and chemicals and how the world came into being, and the Purva Mimamsa, which is connected with Vedānta, Uttara Mimamsa, sorry, and Sāṅkhya, and the last darśana, or the last philosophy, is called Yoga darśana. Though Yoga darśana has borrowed heavily from Sāṅkhya, mostly. The word Kaivalya, which occurs in yoga, also appears before that in Sāṅkhya. The gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, occur in Sāṅkhya already. It has been, well, many concepts of Sāṅkhya have been borrowed heavily also by the Vedantins, because Kapila was ancient. So anyway, that's not of interest to us. I just said that in passing. Now the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, they are called sutras because sutra is an aphorism. When you say aphorism, it means a whole lot of thought has been condensed into one sentence. So these are called the sutras. And all sutras require a commentator to open it up. So the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali have at least 3 or 4 commentators. Starting with the commentary of Vyāsa, there are many others. So a sutra, if expressed, needs to be explained by somebody who knows it, otherwise it just remains a sentence. Now, the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali begins by simply saying, Athato Yoga Jijñāsa, here begins the study of yoga. And then it defines yoga. Okay, before that. Now, the Yoga Sutras are divided into 4 chapters. The first chapter of Yoga Sutras is not practice, is not abhyasa, is not sadhana. The first chapter is called Samadhi Pada, which means understanding of Samadhi, which means understanding of the essence of consciousness. The word Samadhi is derived from the word sama, settling down, equalizing of the dhi, or the thought process. This is Samadhi. So first chapter is called the Samadhi Pada, if you have read it. And so it gives a brief description of what Samadhi is, what is that altered state of mind which is desired, and where does it lead. This is roughly what we discussed in the morning. I discussed it from the Upanishadic point of view. It's the same thing discussed in the Yoga Sutras from the yogic point of view. And much of it is derived from Sāṅkhya. So the idea is that Kaivalya is the state where the mind, cleansed of all its faults, all its imperfections, all its turbulence, when it rests in its quietness, one reaches the state called Samadhi, and in Samadhi one experiences what is called Kaivalya. Kaivalya is derived from the root word kevalam, which means only, O-N-L-Y, which means in that state the mind reflects only the existence of Purusha. Now when you say Purusha, it doesn't mean a man, not a male connotation. Purusha is the spirit or the consciousness in its purity. The state where only Purusha exists in all purity, the all-pervading being, is called Kaivalya. It's nothing else. Okay. Now, the second chapter is what is called the Samadhi Pada. So once you have a rough idea of where you are going, then begins the practice. Right? So this is why I started with something, and then we are going to the next part before we go into the Kriya. Because Kriya is part of Yoga, science of Yoga. Now, as I said, after that, then Patanjali defines in the Sadhana Pada Yoga as Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha. That means Yoga is the Nirodha of the vrittis of the Chitta. Is that Greek and Latin? Yoga is the Nirodha of the vrittis of the Chitta. Please, you must understand by now. No? Okay. It means it is the Nirodha. It is the wiping out of all the vrittis, which means the distractions and the opposing thoughts, which are the cause of distraction, of the Chitta, which means the mind. Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha is the sutra, which means yoga is the wiping out of all the distractions that happen in the mind, whose root, of course, is based on opposing thoughts, and you like, what you dislike, what you don't like, and so on, and what you hate and what you love, and so on. To get rid of these distractions of the mind and make it neutral so that it can accept or it can allow the pure consciousness to shine through, is defined by Patanjali as yoga. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So, when all the drawers has been cleaned, when all the distractions are, you know how the mind is normally, it's always distracted. You sit 1 second, your mind is traveling here, there, everywhere. You can sit here and go to the Himalayas and come back in a second. The mind, of course. So, the question first is it possible? Patanjali says, yes, it is possible to free the mind of distractions. When the mind is freed of distractions, it becomes like a pond without a ripple on it. When it becomes so crystal clear, like a mirror, then there is only the Purusha that is there, nothing else exists. And that is pure bliss, pure happiness, calmness, serenity, and a quietness which is all-pervading. Not just here, it starts here, but you see it everywhere. This is the aim of yoga. The Sadhana Pada says all the techniques that are taught are meant to bring this about. Now, in certain other disciplines, like for instance, intense devotion. Somebody has intense devotion. He's not worried about the logic of it or what are the, justifications for it or nothing. Somehow, for some people, because they are already evolved in many lives, they see something and the mind immediately catches on to that and it expands. When this happens, the nirodha of the vrittis or the wiping away of the distractions happens automatically. You don't have to work on it. But from the yogic point of view, you need to work on it to free the mind from this. But many people cannot suddenly become devotional. It's not possible. Most people cannot. You know, what is normal devotion? Go to the temple and say, God, give me this, give me that. Nobody asks, give me yourself, right? So that's a different setup altogether. A mind that is already purified and which has reached a state, maybe during past births, if you didn't see it in this birth, theoretically for you, it's not theoretical for me. Suddenly you see a person who has the experience of the divine, and then it clicks inside you and there is this desire. Now there you don't go through all the other practices because automatically you would lead such a life. But otherwise you need to go through the practice of yoga. Even if you have a devotional mentality, it's a good idea to practice and go forward systematically rather than haphazard. Because sometimes what happens, one day the devotion is high and the next day is down. To handle that, it's a good idea to practice yoga. So having said that, Patanjali then divides the practices into 8 parts. Actually 7 parts, because the 8th one mentioned is the culmination. So 7 parts. So because it has 8 parts, it's popularly called Ashtanga Yoga. But Patanjali nowhere mentions it as Ashtanga Yoga, although he mentions the 8 aṅgas. In fact, Patanjali calls it Kriya Yoga, what he is teaching. If you read the Samadhi Pada, opening sentence would be, anybody? What? What is the opening sentence? No, that is the first part. It says that study, self-study, attention, and surrender to the Supreme is Kriya Yoga. Svādhyāya, Īśvara Pranidhānani, Kriya Yoga. That's how it describes it. So, anyway, the 8 aṅgas are the 8 parts of yoga, which we should start with 1 and proceed slowly up, is yama, niyama, yama-niyama, Āsana, Prāṇāyāma, Pratyāhāra, Dhāraṇā, Dhyāna. Now 7, now the 8th, that's why I said the 8th need not be included as a practice because the culmination, Samādhi. Yama-niyama, Āsana, Prāṇāyāma, Pratyāhāra, Dhāraṇā, Dhyāna, Samādhi, iva samyama. This is how the first sentence opens. So you have to start with yama and niyamas and then slowly move upwards. So what are the yamas and niyamas? The yamas and niyamas are formulated to bring about this technique of getting rid of all the disturbances and distractions of the mind. Which means in daily life you have to follow certain yamas and niyamas, rules and regulations, if you are ready to cleanse your mind of all its distractions. Which means you cannot say, I will do what I want, I will live as I like, but I want Samadhi. It's not, doesn't work. So you need to follow some. And these rules and regulations are quite natural and they have been prescribed in many spiritual practices, not only yoga. The key rule and regulation to be followed is moderation in everything. neither too much nor too little, except in as applied to alcohol. The key rule is neither too much nor too little, which means Krishna describes this yoga to Arjuna saying, this yoga is not for him who eats too much or eats too little or sleeps too much or sleeps too little. Which means follow a moderation in every action. Entertainment, okay, but not entertainment only, all the time. Eat nutritious food that is good for your body and mind. Don't eat too much and don't starve yourself. Yogis don't believe in starving themselves. Yeah, people did tapasya, but those days it was another yoga. This is Kali Yuga. You need food to sustain your body and to build your brain. Don't say, I will do like Dronacha. I will do like Dhruva, go and stand in the forest, not eat food. It won't work now. In this yoga, it won't work. Even I wanted to do that. With Babaji with me, I still thought I would do that. There might be some shortcut. So I said, Babaji, I want to do tapasya, intense, kathor tapasya, for 16 days. Oh no, I said 40 days in the forest, eating nothing, drinking nothing, not even water. And perhaps I will reach my goal faster. Babaji said, this is Kali Yuga, not Treta Yuga. Human beings cannot do that in this birth, in this yoga. On top of that, I am with you. So what is the necessity for doing that? You don't need to do all that. You will only destroy your body. And then within a few days you will give up and feel terrible about it. I said, I still want to do it. Then he said, you know what will happen if a goat, seeing an elephant shit, tries to shit like an elephant? And he was very crude. His talks were all very, he was very dehati, as they call it, village type of. So I said, what will happen? I don't want to use that Hindi word. He said, you'll only tear your ass. कुछ नहीं होगा, खाली वो फट जाएगा, he said. So I got the message and, sorry young kids. So food is required. Good, nutritious food is required. Once in a while you can do fasting. Nowadays it's a fashion. I'm intermittently fasting. I don't know what it means. But eat moderate food. There is no need of intermittent or anything of the kind. Well, you do it if you want, but so also in sleep. Sleep well. You don't keep sleeping too much. So if that is there, and plus as far as food is concerned, one of the first injunctions on yama-niyamas is ahiṃsā. So try and eat food which does not involve the killing of an animal. Don't say I am beyond all that. I know what is Turiya. According to Patanjali, this is the way to go about it. So, no, just think about it. Would you want to make your stomach a graveyard for dead animals? And it's been proved a myth that there is enough nutrition without that today. So basically it's a habit that we go on, mostly to do with taste. right? So we have to free ourselves from this. Be free. So, no, please. So don't say that I don't think Kriya is going to work for me and walk out. Try your best. That's all I can say. Try your best. And don't give me that theory about, oh, plants also have life, so we are checking up. Plants do not have a developed enough nervous system to register pain as it does in animals. Plus, when you eat a fruit, you don't destroy the tree. You eat one fruit. Right? When you eat something else, you destroy the whole organism. I'm not talking like a saint. I mean, when I was a young boy in my house, day in and day out, from morning to evening, they ate only non-veg food. Maybe I reacted and ran away. Not that I don't know about it, I know. But you can certainly move out if you feel like it. So, nutritious food, sufficient food, good sleep, try to avoid food which causes violence. And the other, which is not so easy but it is possible to practice, and that is try to stick to the truth. Satya. Not so easy. Keep trying. In this world it's so difficult. The entire media generally is based on lies. All advertising is to make you believe that something is good. And in this condition, it's not so easy to. But one of the yama-niyamas is truth. Stick to the truth as much as you can. 2 concessions are allowed. Not by Patanjali, but if you are a lawyer, I can't say anything. And if you are a politician, I can't say. Right? So that's their life, so that's okay. But try as much as possible to stick to the truth. Can you see the contradiction in not sticking to the truth? I say that I want to discover the ultimate absolute truth. And 24/7 I tell lies. I mean, is this possible? Not possible. So, understanding, no offense meant to lawyers. I also need lawyers sometimes. Because you need to do something, you need a lawyer to write the draft and so on. We don't know how to word it, you know. A lawyer can write a draft in such a way that reading it you might think the other guy's property is yours. I have personal experience. This is 3.5 acres of land to be added on to, and it is not in my name. So what, sir? We can draft it and get it changed to your name. I said, what? Somebody else's. So anyway, so these are a few things that you should attempt to do. Try your best. And if speaking the truth is going to cause trouble, just keep quiet. So follow the golden rule that when you speak, please, I am giving time because these are important things. When you speak, pause for 2 minutes and think, what am I going to say? To who am I going to say this? And is this the right time to say it? 3 things. Actually, it will save you from 80% of trouble in this world. Just think once before you speak. The other thing about ahiṃsā is it does not just mean not killing animals. Ahiṃsā means to get rid of the desire to hurt others. Why? Because in every human heart, there is a spark of the divine, whether you know it or not. And therefore every human being is a walking temple of the divine. It's not a fixed temple, it's a walking temple of the divine. And therefore, to hurt a human being is like destroying a temple. Simple. Attempting to destroy. Nobody wants to do that. But then we don't know it. We do it unconsciously many times. There are some people who can't sleep properly if they have not insulted somebody once in a day. I knew somebody who would call his whole working gang in the morning and abuse them. You say, why are you doing this? Otherwise they won't work. But somebody might be hurt. No, that's not a factor here. So try not to also use words to hurt people. You can slap somebody, it might disappear in 5 minutes, the slap. But the word is so dangerous that it can get into the mind and remain for life. For instance, I think I am a wise man, suppose I don't. And you call me a fool. I think this guy called me a fool. What if you don't know English? What does it matter, really? Huh? I might think, I know Hindi, so I might think you're calling me a fool, flower, and be very happy about it. So it's all words that matter, right? So be careful of what words. Don't try to hurt people as much as you can. Even by practicing these yama-niyamas we discussed just now, the mind can become calm, even without meditation. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to tell a lie. I want to be in peace. That itself will kind of take care of the vrittis. So this is why the yama-niyamas are given. There are a couple of more yama-niyamas. One is to live simply. When I say live simply, it means not to imitate somebody else who lives in splendor and luxury. As I am happy with this. Because it is unending. However much you acquire, you are still unhappy. So this is moderate. Yes, I need a house, I need clothes. Good, I need a car. Fine. Stop there and don't. I must own a yacht. Why? Because Vijay Mallya has a yacht. And what is a poor fellow doing living there? Can't even come back to India. So, moderation in everything is important. Then there is one last one, which is almost impossible to do in this world now, which is the yogis advise not to accept gifts. How do we do this? Every day dozens of people bring gifts to me too. And if I refuse, they think they have some bad karma, which is why I am not taking. So what I am saying is, while these are the yama-niyamas, use your discretion and your common sense, adopt as much as you can. Hurting other human beings and other living creatures, try to do your maximum. But other things, you need to have some moderation. You can't not accept gifts. People want to touch your feet. I know some people who, when someone is, they jump backwards. In fact, I know one Swami jumped backwards and fell down the parapet. That's a different matter. But if you do that, people think, oh, we are bad, that's why we are not. So use your discretion and sort it out. The other reason for saying don't accept gifts, it especially applies to spiritual teachers or so-called spiritual teachers. Suppose I'm sitting and I'm not like that, but I'm saying, you come and you have a thick envelope in your hand, okay? I see the envelope And then you are given a lot of importance because of the envelope, not as a human being. And then you leave it there. In fact, there are cases where you cannot have darshan of a so-called yogi without a packet of 2 lakhs and things like that. So you come today with the cover, and the guy who comes without the cover doesn't give it any attention. Right? And then tomorrow when you come, I'm also looking if you have a cover today. So what happens to this spiritual teacher? He starts living a life of expectation from others. Which is why they said don't accept gifts, not for any other reason. It's quite innocent if somebody gives you a rose, take it. No harm. Be careful. Don't get caught up in this profit-loss circuit. This is the meaning of that. But I also know of cases where first you have to give an envelope of some money to the wife because she is Mataji. And then you will be qualified to see the Pitaji after. When you go to see the Pitaji, you give some more. Well, the treasury swells, but is that a right thing to do? So, this is what we have to be careful. These are the yamas and niyamas to be followed. So, what comes after yama-niyama? Āsana. So, does that mean that all people who want to find the truth should stand on their head in Shirsasana? Does it mean that? No. It means, from the point of view of meditation, especially, it's good to do asanas. Yoga asanas are good for health, good for the body and good for the mind. How is good for the mind? We'll come to that. Good for the body is very clear. Your health improves when you do your asanas. I have been doing yoga asanas since the age of 10, till now. I think it has stood me in good stead. Even though I've become 75, sometimes I think like this young man. So that means my mind is also not bad. Not bad. So I recommend that you do yoga. But even if you don't, practice a few yoga asanas. It is good for you, for the body. Now yoga is based on, let's not hurry, okay? Kriya is coming. Yoga is based on the fact that if you tense a muscle and then relax, whole lot of energy flows into that part. So you will see that most yogasanas have stretching of the muscles, and then finally you do the shavasana, the dead body pose. Where all your muscles are. That's when the entire energy comes into your system. Plus, many of the yoga postures, including bandhas and mudras, they are meant to activate the ductless glands in the system. What are they called? Endocrine system. It's not just to do with your physical body, it's to do with your endocrine system. For instance, when you do asanas with the head down and legs up, sarvangasana, shirsasana, all these, what happens is there's a lot of blood circulation in this area. And all the glands which are up there, including the master gland, the pituitary, are affected by it in a good way, in a better way. So I tell people, some people say we don't bow down to anybody. I said, don't bow down to anybody. Go into your room, shut the door, make sure nobody is around. Keep bowing down to the earth a few times. It improves the circulation here. So, the entire, now, the pituitary, the pineal, and various other glands in the body, including the adrenal, are massaged by the movements of the yogasanas, bandhas and mudras. And that increases their function and makes them work properly and moderately For instance, suppose I want to get rid of anger. I'm always angry. There are some, it's even been deified and made a good positive factor. Angry young man in movies and so on. So, suppose I find that this anger is not good. You know what happens with anger? When you're angry, one, your blood pressure increases, your heartbeat increases, and you're also likely to take wrong decisions. When you're angry, your reason doesn't work well. You take the wrong decisions. So it's not a good thing to be angry. You can accomplish many things without getting angry, actually. So I decide, okay, I don't want to be angry anymore. But then it's not so easy, because anger also involves pumping of adrenaline into the bloodstream. So somewhere my adrenal glands are working overtime. And they're dependent on each other. When you're angry, more adrenaline, more anger. Now there is an asana, for instance. If you have decided, I don't want to get angry, first, that is the first step. If you say, I like to be angry, don't worry about it. If you say, okay, I don't want to be angry, it's unpleasant, it's making me think in a wrong way, let me get out of it, then a regular practice of something called Matsyasana is very useful to do this. Very, not useful, very effective to do this. So, any asana experts for Matsyasana here? Yeah? I know, I was only wondering if she wants to do. Matsyasana, if you regularly do, the adrenaline glands get nicely massaged because of the abdominal muscles. And by, you find that you have a good control over it. Hey, I can't see you, turn that way. That's a good way of doing it. Sit in Padmasana. Yes. Slowly go back. Yes. To touch your head on the ground and hold your feet and pull tight. This is Matsyasana. Believe me, enough, thank you. Continuous practice of Matsyasana really helps you to get some control over your anger. Something to be practiced before you believe in it. But first you have to decide, I don't want to get angry. Otherwise, no point. If you can't do Padmasana, you can just sit in Sukhasana and go back. Main thing is this part of the body should be. Okay. So the other thing about asanas is you need to find a posture where you can meditate without being disturbed by aches and pains while you meditate. So therefore all the cross-legged postures are called asanas. This is Sukhasana. When you put one foot up here, this is Siddhasana. If you catch this here, then it becomes Swastikasana. If you sit this way with your legs behind, then it becomes Vajrasana. These are all meditative postures. If one doesn't work, try the other. And if you put your leg here and this becomes Padmasana. So it depends on what suits you. Don't say that I will meditate only after I perfect Padmasana, because it's not going to work. One. Secondly, it will become so painful that your mind is distracted by the pain. We have been practicing from young age, so it becomes easy. Any cross-leg posture is good for meditation. So asana here also means to find a posture which is good for your meditation. In fact, Patanjali says, Sthira Sukham Asanam. That posture in which you can sit in comfort for a length of time becomes your asana. Okay? So these are so we have started with yama, niyama, and we have touched asana. What is the next? No, that is elaborate. So we need to go into it because it is linked intimately with Kriya Yoga. So we will do it in the next session.